Welcome into episode 108 of McCready and Siskey, powered by Rain Total Body Fuel. I'm Neil McCready. That is Tyler Siskey here on this Monday afternoon. Hope everybody had a great weekend. Appreciate everybody being in the stream with us, the Cooper Chevrolet stream. Really appreciate that. Jeff Collins will join us in a few minutes. We'll review our picks over the weekend and get ready for what should be a really big, pivotal weekend in multiple leagues, SEC included.
No doubt. Before we get started, I want to remind everybody that joining us in the Cooper Chevrolet chat, that during September, you get 3.9% financing for 72 months on the new Chevy Silverado Crew Cab. And guess what, Neil?
What's that?
No payments for 90 days.
Get you all the way to Christmas right there.
All the way. Go to cooperchevrolet.com. Check them out. Cooper Chevrolet, Buick, and Anniston.
This show, as always, brought to you by Rain Total Body Fuel, 300 milligrams of natural caffeine, BCAAs, electrolytes, zero sugar. It's got what you need to push the limits and achieve all of your goals. So check them out on Instagram at Rain Body Fuel to learn more. Make sure you communicate with those guys. Make sure you tell them, please, for us, tell them how much you appreciate them making this show possible.
All right, Neil, for about 10 years now, and it's a hell of a week for this sponsorship to start. But for 10 years, I've been getting trolled. Usually about once every 3 to 4 days is probably a good pace for 10 years. About some binocular use that I may or not participated in about 10 years ago this week. And Neil, guess what?
Finally paid off.
The joke is on the trolls because starting today, Neil, we have a new sponsor. Bushnell. Welcome to the show, Bushnell. They're known for quality optics for over 70 years in hunting, shooting, and tactical categories. They sell a variety of optics, products ranging from rifle scopes, sporting scopes, and yes, binoculars. That's right, Neil. What I was using 10 years ago today was a great pair of Bushnell binoculars. They are crystal clear from 100 yards away. I know they are crystal clear from exactly 100 yards away. They can pretty much see everything. So Neil is going to provide you guys a link. And it's right there. It's in there.
In the chat.
It's in the Cooper Chevrolet chat. So we got the link in the chat. Make sure you guys go check it out. Golf, they got golf, got everything. Good stuff. Welcome Bushnell to the show.
Absolutely.
How about my girl Kelsey? First show on Disrupt Media, I made the joke. I said we need to get a Bushnell sponsorship out of this, and she got it done. So shout out to Kelsey.
Thank you, Kelsey. You're the best.
She's the best. All right, so Bushnell, welcome aboard.
Did you have a good weekend?
I did, man. Went to the Chargers and Tupelo game on Friday night. Didn't go so well for the old home team.
That's what Carson told me.
Yeah, that was rough. Tupelo's good. Shocker.
Yeah.
Did that. And then Saturday, I did it, Neil. I made my return trip, went to the Grove for the first time. I never went when I coached, even because I was always with the recruits. I never saw it, never did the Walk of Champions or anything like that because I was always with the recruits. So got to do that and really enjoyed it. Really did. I had some family friends. I'm not going to mention names because I think some of them are in here, but had some family friends and then a couple of boosters that I was really close with when I was at Ole Miss, still friends with. That was close and friends of the program. They have like a shared area or 10 or whatever. So got to visit with those guys, went to the ball game on Saturday night. I still don't like going to ball games. I don't like it. My kids did. Because my kids are Ole Miss fans, so they enjoyed it. But I don't enjoy watching ball games. But I watched it, did what we did, and went back and forth between that and on my phone and watched some games on my phone while I was when the 10 minutes of timeouts that we had, TV timeouts, every 5 seconds when the chains were malfunctioning.
You can only imagine how pissed off your boy was getting at the chains.
Dude, they did a TV timeout every time.
I mean, I was like, come on, guys.
You know what the best part was?
I mean, just go get the old chains.
Coach, they had 20 minutes at halftime. And when the first play of halftime, they come out, they had chain malfunction.
All right, I lost it.
Like, what are we doing at halftime? hand raise guy, hey guys, so we've had a problem with this in the first half. Let's make sure we got the chains fixed before we start the second half. Nope. So that caused plenty of stuff there. But anywho, yeah, that was fun. Checking on my guy, make sure he's good to go. How was your weekend?
My weekend was good. Oldest was home for the weekend. Hung out with her as much as I could, and then spent some time with them on Saturday before I had to go cover a game, and then was reminded about how much I just don't like night games from a work standpoint because I'm tired. I get to midnight and I'm beat. I'm just not used to that anymore. I mean, those days are over. So I spent yesterday praying, literally, that LSU and Ole Miss next weekend would not be the 8:15 game, which, by the way, won't start till 8:30.
It is. They did announce the time.
Yeah, it's Ole Miss and LSU's 5. Alabama, Mississippi State is 8:30. And so, hey,
You
congrats. Congrats to you guys at Mississippi State. You get it. That's the nightmare. I'm not talking about for fans. I'm talking about for media.
Yes.
When you got to work, 5 o'clock, it's fine. 8:15, nightmare. I'm relieved. More relief than anything else.
It's tough on coaches too.
Oh, dude.
I mean, Jeff's. I don't know if Jeff got a hold of him. Let's see where my man is today. I always like the Jeff gear. Your producing skills are immaculate. There he is. Look at him. I knew you had some gear on.
Oh, I like that.
The minister of mayhem himself, Jeff Collins, joins us today on McCready and Siskey. How we doing, brother?
Doing great, man. Doing great.
How much gear do you have? I've never seen you wear the same shirt twice in my life.
I got a lot, man. Got a little Mayhem Ministries hat on, vintage Broncos t-shirt. So ready to roll.
Let's go. I like it. I know we'll get you started because I know you got a lot to do today. I know you had a great weekend, but big game this weekend at SEC, Tennessee and Florida. And here's the question. I want to get this to you is what I think we both knew that Tennessee and Florida was going to be a defensive game. I don't know if we both thought it was going to be that dominant. Let's talk about a little bit about Austin Armstrong and the performance they put on defense Saturday night in Gainesville.
Yeah, I watched Neil. You'll like this. I watched that game on the iPad riding my Peloton today, and the all 22 coaches copy, and just seeing from play one till the very end the plan that Austin had. Just clogging up the middle of the run game on run downs, taking away the screens, not letting anything behind them. And then on third down, he cut it loose and did some exotic pressures and those kind of things. So I thought he had a great plan. I was so happy for Billy Napier. Scott Strickland, the athletic director, was just so happy for them that they got that win in the swamp over Tennessee. And yep. And I thought it was big for them. And, Rob Sales, one of my closest friends, the offensive coordinator, I thought he did a great job, just top to bottom, the game plan that they had versus that explosive offense that Tennessee has as an entire team. And that swamp was rocking.
I found it. I got a lot of heat. I didn't tell you this. Got a lot of heat last week. Matter of fact, it was Monday after you had gotten off the show. I got a lot of heat about my Tennessee take that I said that Joe Milton just wasn't a guy. That was my take.
Yes.
Got a lot of heat. Boy, those people disappeared Saturday. You can't find them. Isn't that funny how that happens? You can't find them on social media right now. It's almost like I said exactly what was going to happen.
You also got a lot of heat for saying that Florida was going to be okay.
Nope. I don't know anything what I'm talking about. Don't know nothing.
Yeah,
nope.
And just the Austin Armstrong thing, being on social media when that job was open and my mentions start, hitting up because of the success that we had when I was there. But just I've gotten to know Austin, respect him, and I don't know if there's a bigger Austin Armstrong fan out in college football than me right now.
Yeah, he's got them going. They dominated that game. Yep. I know you would be very, very proud. I can't talk today. I need some rain. You'd be very proud, but your guy Graham Mertz played pretty good.
He was okay. Yeah.
He played. That's how he has to play for them to win.
I know it's not on our list, but I'm going to touch on the game. I rode the Peloton watching this game live on Saturday. I watched LSU, Mississippi State. And my take on the Tigers all preseason that I got
you got beat
messed
up.
with.
I didn't beat you up.
Not so fast. Be
Not so
careful.
fast,
Be
my
careful,
friends.
everybody. There's a chance your boy this squirrel might have found an acorn. I'm just telling you. Hey, you know this. Everybody talks about Jaden Daniels and Malik Neighbors, and Malik Neighbors was a badass on Saturday. But that LSU defense, it's got some dudes now. And if you got speed like that, you can do some things. Everybody talks about the back end of it, and maybe there's you guys know more than I do, but that front seven has dudes in it. And if you get behind the chains with them,
it's over.
They'll eat you alive, man, because you can't block all those cats.
No. And Harold Perkins was back.
And there are days where Perkins is out there and Mason Smith is out there, and there are times that neither one of them are the most dominant guy in the front seven, and that's not a knock on them. They've got dudes. You have to stay ahead of the chains against them. You must keep them. You got to go 2nd and 5, 3rd and 2 to have a shot against LSU, and that's before you even talk about their offense. And I thought Jaden Daniels was terrific on Saturday.
I agree. All right, we got to talk about this. All right, with mine and your background. Also Saturday at 2:30, the Alabama Crimson Tide went down to Tampa to play South Florida.
Yep.
So I watched the game until it got to the rain delay, and then I had just enough time I left my house, parked my car, and got to where I was going in the Grove, and they had it up. I actually watched the rest of the game.
With bourbon though, so you're
with bourbon.
Your second half takes are not going to be as clear as the first half.
And it was good bourbon too. Shout out. Crazy question.
Okay.
Do you think Tommy Rees wishes he was back at Notre Dame coaching Sam Hartman?
Wow. I've experienced what he's experiencing right now. I know there's, sometimes you get your dream job or a big time spot at a big time place, and you get there and the roster is not quite what you thought it was going to be, or I don't know if he knew what the quarterback situation was, what the offensive line situation was, but it was, we both love Coach so much and have so much respect. It was at times it was painful to watch, and I know that the once you get somewhere and haven't really done the vetting to find out what the roster's really like or some issues that are there. So I don't know that he's going through that, but it's real.
Jeff, what's the bigger issue for Alabama right now? It's a quarterback game, obviously. If you've got a great quarterback, you got a shot. If you don't, things get hard. But their offensive line play is pretty shaky. Really,
right.
Both tackles, not getting a ton of push in the middle. I mean, everyone keeps doing the dynasty is dead, and I'm like, that's not really the issue. The issue is they don't have the dudes up front right now to do some of the things that they've been able to do in the past. I thought they ran the ball okay, but they can't protect the passer no matter who the passer is.
Right, and I think there's a guy that asked Lane Kiffin that question the other day about the quarterback situation, and Lane, obviously admitted that Bryce is not there anymore, and Jameer's not there anymore, and there's a bunch of first rounders, but it's a lot of things that have gone into it, that makes it tough to watch right now.
Dude, that was hard to watch.
Well, they're going to go with Milroe starting Saturday against Ole Miss.
They don't have a choice.
But the interesting thing with that game, and we'll talk about it more as the week goes on, the interesting thing with that game is going to be what Ole Miss does defensively, because Ole Miss did not play particularly well defensively last week, and they gave up some big chunk yards to Georgia Tech. Haynes King had a good game. There was some and Georgia Tech left some points on the scoreboard in the first half that could have made that game more interesting. You could say Ole Miss did too. They dropped a touchdown, but
they went back-to-back drives. I kind of washed those out because they had the 4th and 2 that they could have converted or didn't convert, but then Ole Miss dropped a touchdown on the preceding drive. Trigg.
Right.
Now, I didn't watch the replay. It looked like he should have called it from where I was sitting.
I thought so.
Okay, so maybe somebody saw something on TV, but I thought he should have called it where I was at.
But Georgia Tech was able to possess the football. They were able to roll up almost 500 yards of offense, like 477, I think. I'm interested to see whether Alabama can replicate some of that and then get the big chunk plays. Because if you can get the big chunk plays at home, you're going to have they're probably going to need a couple of those, I'm guessing, against Ole Miss.
They got to figure out what – I can go ahead and tell you what any coach that watches these two teams play, if you're Alabama, they are going to run outside zone. Okay, that's that's one of their bread and butters. But in the game that I was watching on Saturday, every time Georgia Tech ran outside zone, they were gashing their ass. Now they got away from it, and they tried to and they did a lot of stuff formationally, moving things around that really you could see it. That's one thing I couldn't ever see on TV that you can see in person. They were having a very difficult time in the back end communicating with shifts and motions and everything else. And that defense, as Jeff knows, a lot of communication has to go on the back end, and that's just lack of reps. They'll get it as time goes on, but you're going to see that on Saturday. But, dude, that was bad in Tampa. Bad ball in Tampa. So, and
I said it, 2 weeks ago when Ole Miss was getting ready to go to Tulane, going to the group of 5 level when you're used to playing in front of 100 plus is different. But, obviously there's no excuse for, the way it looked. But it's tough to go in those environments.
Yeah, it would look like an Alabama home game. It was way more Alabama fans there than there were South Florida fans. That's played in Raymond James stadiums where they play their home games. But sure, they tore that field up nice and good for Justin Fields. Seemed to struggle because of that was why he struggled the next day, because the turf was bad.
So you guys have both been at Alabama. You've worked for Saban. What's this week going to be like there, coming off of a performance like that where things were not up to their – y'all talk about the standard a lot. I'm going to guess that did not meet the standard. I feel safe in assuming that. So what does this week look like? I mean, they've got a team coming in that I think is capable of beating them.
You want to take that one, Jeff?
Yeah, I know. Yesterday was not fun, and the plane ride back was probably not an enjoyable plane ride back for obviously anybody. But it's it's 4th and 1 right now, all day, every day.
Brother, he is. I've said this on this show before, so not when Jeff's on here, but he is the best in the business. Like when I got there, when you lose, you think that, it's going to be, he's this bad when we win. It's going to be so much worse when you lose. It's literally the opposite. Like when you lose, it's the best week in the building. I mean, it's laid back. It's not laid back, but he's cool. But brother, if you win, and particularly if you win and you didn't play well and you won, it's the worst. It's the worst.
Yep.
So yeah, it was a rough day in the building for all the people in the organization yesterday.
So what do you expect from them bouncing back? Is it there to be fixed? I mean, they don't look like a team that can make, so far through 3 games, they don't look like the team that can make that kind of run. I mean, I think there's at least 2 teams in the SEC that I think are head and shoulders better than them.
All right, Jeff, I want to see what you think about this. I've had a day or so to think about this. All right, this is the way I see it, and please feel free to disagree. The last 4 quarterbacks that Alabama has had have been first-round picks.
Yeah.
Okay, or not technically. Jalen Hurts was not first round, but he's Jalen Hurts, right?
Sure.
All right. But before that is where you got to go back. So you got to go Jake Coker, Blake Sims, A.J. McCarron, Greg McElroy. All right. Those guys were not dynamic quarterbacks as far as now A.J. put up numbers and finished, he took care of the ball and those things, but they were technically not going just to beat you by themselves. But the difference is when they were playing quarterback, Alabama Jake Coker could line up and turn around and hand it to this guy that was wearing number 2.
Yeah.
And his last name was Derrick Henry.
Right. And
you had an offensive line that would maul people. Okay. Before that, you had T.J. Yeldon, Kenyon Drake, Damian Harris, We can just go on forever.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Right now, Alabama does not have an offensive line that can carry the quarterback. And so you're giving up all these sacks because they're teeing off on them because there's no threat of the play action. If we can stop your run, your play action is not going to be open. You want to go 7-man protection? Congratulations. You want to go 7-man protection because we're not biting because you're not running the ball effectively. So I think that's the difference in this team and then back then. If they were extremely dominant up front, offensive line wise, I don't think they'd be skipping a beat. I don't think it would matter who the quarterback is besides Buckner. He was terrible. But, it was, I don't know. That's my opinion. What do you think?
I was going to say the same thing. It's just going into it, I thought the offensive line was going to be a strength, and it's not played out that way. And when that's not the strength, it's going to, when you can double some of those receivers and not having to load the box and all those things, it's a tough day at the office.
Yeah. The guys are cutting. I think you were talking about it earlier, but you get the left tackle. He's getting speed rushed. He can't stop a speed rush. That's a problem if you play left tackle to SEC and you're having a tough time with a speed rush.
Yeah.
Problems. Okay. The right tackle can't redirect his feet, so he's getting up and under all day long. They were just getting, it was almost like, you know what it felt like watching that game? I felt like I was watching an offensive line that did not practice. And they come out there and you see a bunch of movement and stunts and stuff, and they just looked unprepared.
Well, I'm going to assume they practiced.
I guarantee you they did. So that's what I'm saying.
So it's a talent thing.
It's a lack of execution and getting the job done. I don't think it's that they can't get it done. Now, they're not going to be dominant road graders.
Right.
But they're still talented kids. It's just it's a playing hard. Like, I didn't see, how we talked about last week about the playing hard thing? Like, I thought the SEC was down probably because there's a lot of teams that aren't playing hard like they used to. They didn't play. They're not playing very hard up front. Not as a collective. There are individuals, but there are people that I didn't think played very hard.
And I see that, Tyler, watching games over and over and over, especially the coach's copy, it's an epidemic right now. Just the lack of swarming to the ball and 11 hats just flying, trying to get there at all costs. You don't, just around college football right now, you're not seeing that on every game that you turn on.
So what do you attribute that? What do you attribute that to, Jeff?
I don't know. It's just, there's the worry, and, Tyler and I have used this phrase to each other because we heard it so much, is the independent contractors. You get independent contractors that aren't, weren't born and raised loving this institution or this school or, whatever it is, or trying to show their efforts so they can get paid when they go to the NFL. A lot of them are getting paid now, and it's just interesting to watch, how much the game has changed in just, 3-4 years. And, it's just it's noticeable when you watch the coach's copy. And this is around the country, not just coaches team. It's just it's just something that's missing a little bit.
If you right now, you could have a above average talented team. Okay. Above average talent. If you can get 22 guys playing their ass off, you'd win damn near every game. That's how big of a difference it is. Like Jeff knows, and this was my opinion last week. You wasn't on the show when we were talking about it, but my point was, I don't think coaches can coach kids as hard as they used to, and you can't hold playing time against them as accountability pieces. And so you're seeing these loafs stack up in games because they can't sit them down because they're going to go hit the button and go to the transfer portal.
I had a lot of I had BYU Arkansas on my computer in Vaught Hemingway on Saturday. And I thought BYU won the game because they out-efforted Arkansas.
Yeah. That's 100%.
Arkansas had speed advantage everywhere and took advantage of it early. And BYU, I think Arkansas thought at 14-0 BYU would roll over, and that's not who they are. And they played really hard.
Out of interest to that point, I turned on the South Alabama Kane Womack's team. I turned on that tape just to watch that tape to see how they did it. Those dudes were playing hard. Both sides of the ball, they were flying around. There was 11 dudes just giving ridiculous effort at all times. And, obviously I know Kane and think the world of him, but just watching that team play, physical, violent, swarming to the football, second and third efforts, that's the kind of ball I like.
I mean, we're all partial to him. We're friends. We're biased. So those are your caveats. We're big Kane Womack fans. He comes on our show every Thursday. Love the guy. People, ADs, boosters, whoever the people are, the decision makers at places are going to start watching them. They're on the radar. They're going to watch them and go, how do we recreate that culture? How do we get our guys to play like that? Because, I mean, look, no knock on his guys, but it's a Sun Belt team. He's not full of 5 stars.
Right.
And so that's not a criticism. It's just reality. And
they are quick U clients, though.
They're good. they're good players, good kids. But you know, you see my point. I mean, look, you're going to try to find that. I think unless you are one of these superpower recruiting, Georgia, LSU, where you can go out and get whoever the hell you want.
Right.
You still got to build culture, but you know what I mean? You get dudes. If you're at a place that traditionally doesn't get all of those dudes, guys like Kane, people are going to want to talk to him. How are you doing what you're doing? Does that translate to the P5 level? Could you do it at a high level in the SEC, in the Big 10, the Big 12, whatnot? It was a big night for his career.
Yeah.
And the other piece, just watching NFL tape, you watch the NFL play, those dudes play hard. Every single snap, they are playing just lights out, and they have to. And, just the educational piece is just, showing the NFL tape, showing how hard they play to some of the guys, because that's what it takes to play at that level.
Yeah, 100%. Well, dude, I appreciate the hell out of you. You've been like super generous for your time today. We got off the rails right there.
Sorry, it's my fault. I always do it.
No, well, we're pretty good at it.
It's a lack of discipline on my part. You know what I mean? My eyes aren't in the right place.
Eye violation.
I'm just not focused. And
you did great effort, though. Great effort.
I did give effort.
Good effort. All right, brother. Appreciate you, man. Oh, you got to throw up your J's for Kane one time, since we got to get Kane to throw up your J's. There you go.
There we go. Mayhem.
Mayhem, baby. Love it. Have a good day, man.
Yeah.
See you, bub. I could talk about him forever.
It's a pretty interesting take. That's
It's
something that people are going to talk about if efforts being questioned.
And it's like you said, though, it's a pandemic, man. It's not unique to one place. And I mean, I've heard coaches, bunch of my buddies have like, dude, our lows are up. And he goes, there's nothing. I mean, it's across everywhere.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make a difference until it's like the backside of a play. Like guys not running to the ball. There's guys that break tackles, and guys could be knocked out of bounds for 7-yard gains. Instead, they're up the field for 25, 30-yard gains, stuff like that.
What I'm interested to see with some of these teams as we get into the season, still September, right? I'm interested to see what happens to some of these teams when they lose 2 games, 3 games.
Yeah. If they shut it down.
The guys go, hey, I'm getting in the portal in a few months. This coach's getting fired. I don't know what's going on, but I ain't getting hurt.
Yeah.
Or I didn't get enough. Hey, they paid another guy. He ain't doing it. That kind of stuff. I want to see what happens when that attitude rolls around. You're going to find out. When we talk about culture and climate and all of those buzzwords, when you're winning, everything's fine. Everything's fine. You got problems, but everything's kind of fine. One loss, that's not going to set you back. One loss, nah. I mean, Alabama's not done because they lost to Texas. LSU wasn't done because they lost to Florida State. Go back to Arkansas for a minute. They're not done because they lost to BYU. But the challenge now is in the buildings, right? And you saw it with LSU.
The enemy is amongst us.
Yeah, you either you start figuring it out now, or it spirals.
100%.
That's why I think. I mean, we'll talk about it a lot this week. I think Saturday for Alabama is a huge game.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's huge for the climate in that building, because even for Nick Saban, who's the unquestioned GOAT, he's the best ever. He could never win another game, and nobody would ever say anything other than he's the best coach to ever coach college football.
To ever do it.
But even he and his program, the process and all that stuff, I'm telling you, man, he's not immune to this.
Well, nobody is.
And so, he's been immune to it for a long time, but I don't think in today's climate he would be. You let them get off to 2-2, where people go, hey, we're probably not winning this thing. We're probably not going to the championship. We're probably not going to the playoff. Probably not that team. And you get the quarterback stuff and all that, man, it could get weird there, where all of a sudden games on their schedule that you look at before the season and go, W. All of a sudden you're like, I don't know, man. Could go the other way. And it can go off the rails fast. And I think that's the case. That's why I think it's again, not breaking this game down, but it's a big game for Ole Miss too. It's a really big game because LSU's next. And we talked all summer about what happens if you lose to Alabama and then lose to LSU. Can you get a bunch of guys that came in as independent contractors? Everybody goes, oh, we got great chemistry now. You hadn't lost yet. You hadn't had any adversity yet. Adversity is not, hey, Tulane driving in the fourth quarter stops. Spare me. That's not adversity. And you can't manufacture it either. You have to wait. You have to wait for it to come, right?
It's gotta happen.
And when it comes, you'll see how you answer the bell. I just think it's a huge game for both of those teams. It's. I mean, we're about to find out a lot. Like people talk about, would Pittman be on the hot seat at Arkansas? The answer is, if they lose 4 or 5 of these next games in a row, the answer is yes, absolutely, 100% on the hot seat, because that's just the way it is now. So for them, I mean, they've got a trip to LSU this weekend, then they got Texas A&M, then they got Ole Miss. I mean, it could get squirrely. And so you look around, it's why it's such a big win, as stupid as all the talk about Billy Napier was. The truth is, the way it is, if you start piling up L's in the emotional process that is the season, weird decisions get made. I'll tell you what, this was a big win for him, jumping around a minute, because we're about to do our picks and we'll get into games.
Neil Brown. Is that what you about to say?
Well, it was a big win for him. It was a really big win for Eli Drinkwitz. Big. To beat Kansas State at home. We had a big crowd. Everybody showed up.
That place was rocking.
It was rocking. It was packed for an 11 a.m. game. They showed up, and they got to get that W.
That's a hard place to play.
I'm aware. To get that W at Missouri for them was big. That felt, watching it when it happened, just my gut feeling was, boy, that's when he's going to be able to build on. Yeah. That's something he's going to be able to sell to kids. They've got a good NIL program going.
They do that.
And they just kind of weren't getting over the hump. That felt like, and look, they got to keep building on it, obviously. I don't even know who they have this week. Memphis this week. They got to keep winning. You can't go blow it. But it felt like that was something that you could gain some traction off of if you're Missouri.
Yeah, it's a funny year to where I feel like, now being another year removed from coaching, I feel like in the media world and in the fan world, and maybe it's been like this the whole time, I was just unaware of it, every week we're like, oh, that guy's in trouble. Oh, he saved his job. Oh, he's in trouble. Oh, he saved his job. I'm a fan of let's wait and see. I'm not sold on Missouri. I'm not.
Yeah.
I don't think that win is going to, because he could turn around. And I mean, you got 2 3-0 teams playing this week. Memphis is playing way above their head. Yep. What anybody expected going into the season. Now they had a close game. It was triple option. I throw that away, but they're still 3-0.
I didn't throw it away.
Yes, we'll get to that in a minute. But anyway, but you see what I'm saying? Like if he's in trouble too. What if he goes and beats Missouri this weekend in St. Louis? Then we're back to ground zero, right? So. All right, Neil, do you know what time it is?
It is time to have our kind of come to Jesus Monday meeting where we talk about how we did, what we did right, what we did wrong.
It's Tell the Truth Monday, where you have to tell the truth.
Yeah, might as well dive into the truth.
Let's dive into the truth. All right, Neil. For the second week in a row, Neil, you have had an excellent college start to your season. I would like to commend you for that.
Thank you. I'd like to just thank the little people, and we're just going to continue.
Are you getting help?
No, we are continuing to grind. That's what we're doing. We are grinding and doing the best we can. We don't have 5 stars picking these games.
Well, we're a
collection. We're a collection of 3-star talent.
Question some of your picks where if you had help or not. So
I mean, do I have?
I'm going to turn you into the NCAA.
I mean,
hey, if anyone has, I
do my research.
If anybody has evidence of Neil cheating on his picks, please send an email to compliance@McCreadyandSiskey.edu.
That's the kind of crap right there. Right there. I have 2 things to say to you. 1, I'm about to kick your ass. And 2, I'd like to pray for you right now with a Bible verse.
You're dirty.
My feet are clean now, though. I got a pedicure on Saturday.
Don't say that out loud.
I did.
Don't say that
I did.
out
It's
loud.
awesome. Never done that before.
Oh,
It's a new experience.
While we're talking about our Saturday, I got my buddy. I text him to see what it was called. So I had a bourbon or 3.
Yeah.
On Saturday afternoon at the Grove. Which, look, I'm going to be dead serious here. Really doesn't get the credit it deserves. That was a good time. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
I'm glad
as
you enjoyed
awkward as it was for me to be there.
It had to be.
It was extremely awkward. And I feel awkward. I don't, you know what I'm saying? Like, I felt awkward, but I really enjoyed it. A big thank you to the people who invited me. They were friends of the program.
Okay, good.
I went with some old
friends of this program or friends of that program?
Friends of the Ole Miss program.
Oh, okay.
That I've known for a long time, dating back to like 2012.
That's good.
And had a really good time. Enjoyed that. I had bourbon called Garrison Brothers. I don't know if anybody, I asked Neil earlier if he had it. If anybody in the chat wants a great bourbon, and I'm not a bourbon guy, but that made me want to be a bourbon guy. I was like, this is the good stuff.
I've got bourbon if you want to come drink bourbon.
You got good stuff like that?
Yeah, I've got some good stuff.
That was good stuff. Like, as you reminded me, it's probably not cheap. So yeah, you get what you pay for.
I've never heard of that one, so I don't know. I can't comment on the price point.
Garrison. Oh, this is what it looks like. Garrison Brothers.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the price point on that is.
Yeah,
I'll research.
It's good stuff. Good stuff. All right, Neil. So this week, my man Neil McCready went 6-5 overall. You had a 4-2 college slate.
Yep.
Hitting your second money line in a row.
Way to go, Florida International, baby. FIU.
So Neil,
the Fighting Mike McIntyres.
You are up 2.35 units for the week. Overall, Neil, we're getting back to level. We're getting there. We just takes us a little time. We're like preseason. You're 12-16, but you're only minus 1.65 units because you've hit 2 money lines.
Right.
All right.
Went 2-3 in the NFL. Got 2 games.
2-3.
After an 0-5, 2-3 felt good.
Yep. Oh, Ryan Wiggins says, great. Going to the Cooper Chevrolet chat, Ryan Wiggins says $299.99 a bottle. That is why it's good.
Yeah.
That is why it's good.
One gets what one pays for.
It was really good. I now feel bad that I have 3 of them.
I feel bad that you poured Sprite in one of them, but go ahead.
It was a sprinkle.
Okay.
It wasn't. Let's don't get carried away.
Just a little splash.
Yeah, it's just a splash.
Okay.
I did it straight and on ice and on all 3. All right. I also started out with a great Saturday. I went 4-2 and hit my money line as well. And then Sunday happened, and I went 0 for freaking 5 in the National Football League.
So let's quickly review our college picks. Who got what? Who got
all right,
wrong?
so we'll start with you. Your first loss, Memphis hosted Navy.
Yep.
28-24, which we talked about. That was just a weird game. Memphis had plenty of opportunities to run away with the game, and they just could not get it going. So you had them at minus 13. They ended up winning by 4, so we lose that one.
Yep.
Friday night, which I love this pick. I don't know why I didn't pick it. I bet it personally, and I just screwed this one up on the picks. But you had the Quick U clients, Maryland Terrapins, minus 14.5, hosting Virginia on Friday night. And it was a close game for a while, but they extended it out in the second half.
I really like Maryland.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
I like him a lot.
He's doing a really good job.
Look, Mike Loxley and that whole staff up there, they are extremely organized. Really like what they do, recruiting, how they're organized. And he is one of the most underrated play callers in the business.
Tagovailoa is not as good as his brother, obviously, which is
different,
a really high standard. But man, he's a good player and a smart player and tough as nails.
He's a little bit more athletic, quick release. He's right-handed, obviously, so it looks different. But has the same. What he does have the same is he has great vision, on there. So he did very well there, and they extended it out. All right, your third game, Neil, that you also won. You had the Penn State Nittany Lions minus 14.5 against the Fighting Altmaiers of Illinois, and they win 30-13.
Yeah, I had that one on. So my Saturday, I got up, I went with my girls to get a pedicure.
That's the third time you said it.
You texted me. And I'm like, hey, dude, I'm getting a pedicure. Leave me alone.
I thought you were joking.
And then I came back, Rode the Peloton, did LSU, Mississippi State. I had to go to Ole Miss later, but they wanted some wings. I smoked wings, and I did that while I watched Penn State, Illinois. I'm interested in Penn State, Iowa this week, but Illinois' got issues. Lots of issues.
Turn the ball over too much to be playing like that.
And Penn State, once they got rolling, they were rolling.
I got
But I'm interested in Penn State moving forward. I'm interested.
The under's probably going to be set at 4 this weekend, but I may take it.
Won't be a lot of points.
Won't be a lot of points
in
scored
Happy
in that
Valley.
game.
Yeah.
Won't be a lot of points scored in that game against Penn State and Iowa. All right, Neil, your third game that you won, Rutgers, the Scarlet Knights, hosted Virginia Tech. They were 7-point favorites against Virginia Tech, and they beat the piss out of them, 35-16.
Yeah, Rutgers. That was more Virginia Tech. It's two things. He's got Rutgers playing his style of ball, that physical.
Yeah,
where it's not fun to play them. They don't have super speed anywhere, but Virginia Tech, dude.
You know what they do? They play hard.
They do play hard. Virginia Tech.
It's rough.
See, people got to ask about that. What kind of job is that today, right? When you're one of these coaches out there and this cycle starts cranking up, what kind of job is that today? And I don't know the answer. Great tradition and all that stuff, but
they do have the best run out in the history of college football.
It's really good, but it's
really
the scoreboard still says 0-0, and that's over.
Since this was another complaint we had this week, what does it say at the start of the game? Does it say
15-0-0
okay.
Q1?
I've never heard that before.
Yeah, and so if I'm a young coach, hot, I'm not talking about Kane, I'm talking about anybody. I got to dig in deep on Virginia Tech before I run that risk.
Yeah, they got ran through like shit through a tin horn. I didn't know if you knew that either. All right, Neil. One of your losses on Saturday, your only loss on Saturday, you had the over 55.5 Washington and Michigan State, and they totaled 48.
Washington got to
41-7.
Washington's. I had it on my screen in the press box. Washington felt bad for them and stopped. I resented that.
They stopped you 8 points shy of a dub. They could have scored 38 more if they wanted to.
Yeah. He was being decent. And they have bigger games coming.
I'm very interested in Washington moving forward.
Same.
Very interested.
Really good.
Like,
you talk to people.
They flash greatness.
I talk to people who know DeBoer. Is that his name?
Yes.
I can't think of his first name.
Yes.
People rave about.
I think so. I don't know.
DeBoer.
I know it's DeBoer.
People rave about him. Who have worked with him and around him. They rave about him, and they have my attention.
Yeah. No, they're legit. And then, Neil, for your money line that you just knew the whole time, you had the Fighting Mike McIntyres, the FIU Quick Q clients, Panthers.
Yep.
It was a roster rebuild through Quick Q. On the road, they go and just really dominate the game.
Yeah, UConn came back a little bit late and made
it a
little nervous, but my guys, just like I knew they would, they just bowed up, stopped it, ran the clock out there at the end, and celebrated a victory in stores. A big moment for the Fighting Mike McIntyres and for the Fighting Neil McCready's. Big moment.
Big moment. Look, all kidding aside, when they get good quarterback play, they're a legit good football team.
Yeah.
When their quarterback struggles, they struggle because they're really good on defense. They can run the ball, but they have to have the quarterback's got to be dynamic. And when he plays Kalen DeBoer. What I say, Kevin?
You said Kevin? You were close.
That's close.
I was thinking Caden, but it's
got
Kalen.
the N and the A and the K, right? But yeah, Mike's doing a hell of a job down there, and they're getting it rolling. All right, Neil, my college started off feeling really good on Saturday. This game went exactly like I thought it was going to go. I had LSU minus 9.5 at Mississippi State, and I'm all in because this is me personally. I think that Florida State is special, and I think LSU kind of shut it down late, and that score got out of hand. I think LSU's a little closer to that. I would not argue with you right now if you told me that LSU is the best team in the SEC. I would not argue with them. If we were doing our power rankings, I don't know if I wouldn't put them one. I think they're really, really good. And Mississippi State just could not get anything going because they couldn't attack downfield, which is what you have to do against LSU. They couldn't do it, and they got suffocated everywhere else. And LSU, that was a dominated game. So
LSU's got so much front seven speed, man. If you just try to dink and stuff against them, it just doesn't work.
They just stress you, man. And then they had Perkins back at.
You can run on them a little bit, but you got to be dedicated to it. You got to be physical up front, and they're a little susceptible on the back end, but you got to attack it. You're not going to do it with just little stuff. You got to go, and if you don't have receivers who can make separation and go up and make plays, it's going to be a long day.
The two guys that they got that can play like skill wise that can play anywhere in the league is Tulu Griffin. But he's a smaller guy. Yeah. And he's playing in the slot. And then I like the running back Marks.
I like the running back Marks too. He's a good player.
Couldn't get going.
Well, and they just couldn't.
They couldn't.
And they weren't willing to get dedicated to it either. And then when you fall that far behind, you got to get away from it.
And they started teeing off on them.
Yeah, boy. It was ugly.
That game got out of hand.
Ugly.
All right, Neil.
I mean, LSU after a minute was like, let's moving along. And that's all that prevented that from getting nasty.
Yep.
That was a mismatch, my man. You don't see that a ton in the SEC like that, where a team just gets manhandled. If you're Mississippi State, that's a head scratcher.
Yeah. And they got to go to South Carolina. I'll be watching that game this weekend.
Me too.
We'll talk about that tomorrow and preview stuff. But in the Tyler Siskey game of the century, where they were giving out free money.
Yeah.
I had Kansas State.
Turns out it
minus
was
-3.5.
money.
Turns out they were handing it to the other side.
Yeah.
That's what they were doing. First of all, good game.
Very entertaining game.
Kansas State didn't ever really get anything. They had some drives, then they got away from what they were doing a little bit. Quarterback play was just They never really.
Yeah, he was fine.
He's fine.
Yeah.
Missouri wins a 61-yard walk-off. Okay, 61-yard walk-off.
He popped that ball.
You know, we talked about Eli, about how big of a game that was and all that stuff, and there were rumblings.
Yeah.
He was about this close to having an issue because they decided to get a delay a game.
Turns a 56 into a 61.
Like nobody's talking. That's what I'm talking about. Nobody wants to talk about.
I talked about it this morning. I said, hey, look, I'm hoping, because if he didn't, he's not a good dude. I don't know what Mevis drinks, but you better buy a nice bottle.
Yeah.
And I don't know where Mevis likes to go to dinner.
Buy it.
But you either need to take him to that dinner or you need to
get him an NIL deal.
Call ahead and go, hey, this one's on me. Just no check. Just send me the check and put 30% on it. I'm good.
If he misses, let's say that falls short.
Oh.
By like a yard.
Just say he hits it 59 yards.
59 yards. Okay, and that falls short, and they go on to lose that game in overtime.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. It's crazy to me.
So fine line.
It's crazy to me. Those the two games I'm referring to, right? This Missouri game, these are both fourth-year guys. The fourth year is pretty critical now. If you don't have momentum in the fourth year, you're not guaranteed a fifth. And I was thinking about it when it was over. It was funny. It was another podcast. I'm trying to remember the name of it because I'll give them the credit. They circled the Missouri game and the Arkansas game going into the week and said, two coaches who really need this. And whoever loses, if someone loses one of these, this is hot seat stuff. And I was like, at the time, I was going, yeah, that's a pretty good point. And then as it unfolded, I'm like, yeah, you nailed it. He wins that game, and that cools it. And you're right. I mean, the kicker bails him, right? And then Pittman has a moment in the Arkansas game. It's 31-20, I think. I think Arkansas is up 11 or 10. 10 or 11.
10.
Maybe it's 10. Anyway.
Whatever.
They've got it 4th and about half a yard right at midfield. And they do they at first they called it a first down, but then this play's under review. So they had time. And first time you saw a replay, you're like, someone in the booth surely went down to the Arkansas sideline and said, hey, we're short. We got to figure it out. We're going to be a half yard short. And he runs that. I'll never understand it. I'll never understand this. Coaches do this, and I'm like, what are you doing? He runs that pistol play where the snap it back. You need half a yard, and you snap it back 5 freaking yards, and he hands it to a running back who gets stopped. Yards short of the BYU gets the ball, momentum, scores. The rest of the night, they controlled the game. That half yard's going to be big.
It's going to be big
at the end of the season. And so, yeah, the line between success and abject failure is sometimes so thin.
Speaking of having such a thin line of failure and success, I had the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets plus 18. This was the other game I lost. Had them plus 18. And when Georgia Tech cut it to 7 in the fourth quarter, I was feeling pretty good about my spread. And then Lane, that felt a little personal. It did. It felt a little personal doing the old double moves in the 4-minute offense. Felt a little personal, but hey.
I'm convinced Lane knows the betting line.
I don't know if he knows the betting line. I think that one I have a good feeling I know why he did that. I'll tell you off the air.
Okay.
But as soon as he did it, I was like, yeah, I was kind of thought this may be coming. So on the show, I said I was in line for a backdoor McCready. I got backdoored all right. Georgia Tech comes down and scores, cuts it to 18. We don't want to kick the extra point. We want to go. And I know where they went for 2 to cut it to a 2-score game to make it 16. I get that. Didn't get the 2-point conversion, so it's sitting right on 18. I was like, well, I'm going to push. Nope, not going to push because after the onside kick, Lane decided he still wanted Spencer Sanders in the game and handed the ball off, and Georgia Tech basically just let him through. It was a good run.
It was a good run.
But I was like, you got to be shitting me. So I got backdoored Siskey on that one because I tried the backdoor McCready. It didn't work. So they put the lube on me and got me with the backdoor Siskey. I mean, they just got me, man. So I was like, all right. So, but no, that game, it was interesting to watch. Like you could see from where I was sitting, things I didn't see, you can't see on TV, like we talked about. The communication, Ole Miss defensively, communication when shifts and motions occur has to improve. They cut some guys loose in coverage over it.
Yeah.
Especially on third down. There were some third down conversions that guys were in bad leverage because they didn't get lined up properly after communication. Really struggling on outside zone, fitting the run on outside zone. Backers are nowhere to be found on outside zone. They're filling it wrong. But they did some good things.
Looking for third down.
They had to have a high third down conversion.
Yeah, I'm looking here. Third down conversion. Georgia Tech was 11 of 20.
Yeah, a solid. That'll win you games.
Yeah, and then 2 of 5 on fourth down. Ole Miss was 5 and 10 on third, 1 of 2 on fourth.
And then the other thing from an Ole Miss perspective that I noticed, I think Quinshon Judkins is pressing. He's trying to hit a home run every play instead of letting everything filter out. Where you look at, is it 24, the backup kid? When he gets in the game, he just Bentley just runs the play. Quinshon's trying. He needs to be a little bit more patient. It looks like he's pressing a little bit, trying to make too much happen. Just let the offense come to him. He'll be fine. He's still him. He's still good. All right, Neil. My next game, which I hit, which we touched with Jeff, is I had the under Florida-Tennessee game. I had the under at 58.5. It was 29-16, so it was very comfortably the under. Big takeaways from this, Florida, not dead and gone because like we talked about literally last week, I said, did we write off Florida too early? And did other people because I've been getting crushed for my Florida takes. I just think the SEC is so down that Florida's going to end up winning some games. That I think they'll go over their 5.5 easy, especially with a win versus Tennessee.
Yeah.
The way they got it set up, they got Vandy, Kentucky coming up. They got Charlotte. I mean, they're going to be at 5 right there.
Still get South Carolina. Still get Arkansas. Yeah. They should get some wins.
They should have some wins. So, defensively, they're good. Like we talked about, Graham Mertz was not terrible. He kind of functioned how he needs to function. Now, did he do some crazy stuff? Yes. I'm not sitting there and go say he played a perfect game, but he managed the game a lot better than he did in Utah a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Being at home probably helped a little bit of that.
Might show you that Utah's better than Tennessee, too.
Yeah. And Tennessee's problem is this, really simple. They're trying to run last year's offense. They can't stay on schedule. They're not running the balls effectively. They're behind schedule. They're trying to go tempo too much. They're not getting the first downs to get it started. And then the fight at the end of the game, that was started because Heupel called a timeout just to call a timeout. Like he's losing by what? They're down. They're down 13 points with 8 seconds to go.
Yeah,
and he called a timeout.
just
So I didn't like that, but it is what it is. He actually apologized to Billy after the game.
I heard him. Yeah.
So, but that was a little silly. All right, Neil. There was a trip that our good friend made. Do you know who made the trip?
The Joker made a trip. The Joker made a trip. Tyler always leaves every time we talk about Colorado. He's gone, and then suddenly, hello, Joker.
Hello, Neil.
How was your trip to Boulder,
Well,
Joker?
I heard that Tyler Siskey had a really shitty week picking games, but the Joker is 1-0
Yeah.
because the Joker.
So should his pick? I mean, I don't think your pick should help him. That should
No, we're a tag team partner.
tag team. Okay.
The Joker took Colorado State plus 23.5 and had a super easy cover at 9:00 on ESPN. And all of America, including their own fans, all of you fans out there that were supporting this guy, y'all were so quiet because you saw the fraud that was taking place in Boulder, Colorado. The fraud. They were so quiet. They were getting dominated by a Mountain West team. The problem is that Barstool paid off the officials, and Colorado State had 182 yards of penalties, 4 turnovers, went 2 for 5 in the red zone, and missed when we're 0 for 5 in field goals, and you still had to drive the length of the field just to send it to overtime. Frauds, pretenders. Just remember, this Saturday, you have a date with reality. And I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now, Neil, the Colorado State Buffaloes, the Colorado Buffaloes, I don't even know your name. That's how irrelevant you are. Nobody knows your name. The Oregon Ducks will roll this weekend. They will win the game by 74 points in Eugene, Oregon. And Deion Sanders will quit and resign immediately following the game.
Joker, were you a professional wrestler in a past life?
Yes.
Okay, makes sense.
See you Thursday, Neil.
See you Thursday. I feel like Gordon Soley now. I'm like doing interviews of professional wrestlers. Welcome back, Tyler.
Hey, how are you?
I'm great.
All right, let's talk seriously about this.
All right.
That was an easy cover. But here's like they got dominated in the game. You had 182 yards of 182 yards of penalties and 4 turnovers, and Colorado State's 0 for 5 on field goals. And you were damn near down 2 scores in the fourth quarter. It was embarrassing. Like, I don't want to hear anybody that votes for these guys in the top 25 is clueless. They're so lucky to win that game.
Well, they're getting votes right now just because they're undefeated. The L's are coming, and the votes will dry up. The thing that bothers me about Colorado a little bit right now is just ESPN's love fest with it. And it's new, and it's Deion and all that. And look, it must be getting ratings because everybody's going back for more. But it's just like, hey, can we slow the roll a little bit? This is not – they're not going 12-0. They're not going 10-2. Chill a minute. But I'll give them credit. They came back and they did find a way to win the game. I'll give them that.
No, they did that.
I thought when I got back at, I guess they were going to the fourth quarter. I turned it on quietly in the living room. I was wired. So I was still working. I was downloading some video, kind of getting some stuff ready for Sunday. And I watched it. I mean, they made plays, and I thought they were beat until they started driving. I'm like, oh no, they're gonna. And I knew if they scored, they were gonna get the 2-point play. And then I thought overtime favored them, but it's just some of the stuff is just kind of over the top, and it's like people are like, well, why are you anti-Deion? I'm like, I'm not anti-Deion at all. I just kind of feel like I know where this is going, and I know when you it feels like this is what we do. We create all this hype, and the very same people 3 weeks from now are going to be saying, "What's wrong with Colorado?" And it's going to well, nothing's wrong. It's the same. It is. It just.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. I mean, they were fortunate to beat Colorado State, and it won't be disfortune or unfortunate, whatever the word is, when they lose to Oregon and USC and Oregon State and Utah, and because those L's are coming.
So most everybody was asleep, probably in America, except for me and you, because you had to work, and I'm sick and sadistic like that. So he became, I think, I did a lot of research trying to find this, and I came up with this. I'm pretty sure that was only the 6th time in the history of mankind that they took that a team took the ball first. I know Houston did it one time in like 2020, and then somebody else did it. So the coin toss happened. Colorado wins the toss. He looks at Shedeur Sanders and he goes, "I want the ball." It blew the official away. It blew Colorado State player away. And he was like, and the Colorado State player jumped in and goes, "He said he'd take the ball, right? Awesome. We'll take this in right here." Well, the mistake is now the second overtime works. Well, it's Colorado State's choice.
Right.
So they're going to pick defense both times. And when asked about it in the press conference, that was weird to me. I was like, what just happened? Okay. I was like, he messed up. When asked about it in the press conference, he said, "Well, I just wanted to put pressure on him." Like, that's a fan talking. That's a fan talking.
Right.
That's zero logic, okay, behind that. And then this is where, if you want to be entertained, go listen to the press conference. All right? I want to make sure I give him credit. Peter Ball from The Athletic. He's a hockey reporter that was some reason, he's from Denver. I guess they sent him down because he was the closest guy to cover this game. Asked one of the craziest questions I've ever heard in a press conference. He asked Deion, "Why in the second overtime did you decide to go for 2? Why in the second overtime did you decide to go for 2? And I'm looking at him like, what are we doing? Like, Athletics, send somebody to cover a game that knows the rules of college football. Because this guy apparently has been covering hockey the whole time and has no idea. Because the only answer that should have been provided, the only answer would have been, well, in the second overtime in college football, you have to go for 2. That should have been the only answer. But no, that wasn't the answer. He says, "Well, we got cards that, based on the points, we got cards and charts that tell us what to do based on points." He doesn't know the rules of overtime. He doesn't know the rules of overtime, and he's coaching a college football team.
He knows them now.
Like, what are we doing? And nobody followed up. Nobody's talking about it.
It's because they won.
If that was
It's because they won.
If that was Lane Kiffin or Billy Napier or I started to say Mel Tucker, but he's not there anymore. If that was Mike Loxley, if that was anybody that did the same thing, the media would have gone after
This
them.
is kind of my point. And because they won, though, nothing happened. Had they lost, they would have gotten them. And I'm just mark my words. When they lose some games, suddenly one of the talking head, it's because they found that Deion gets clicks.
Yeah.
Deion gets eyeballs.
He does do that.
But once the L's come, hey, what's wrong? Has Deion Sanders lost his edge? It's like, no, he doesn't have the same kind of players as these other teams. I mean, to be 3-0 with the issues they have on both lines of scrimmage it's a testament to the coaching staff that he's put together.
He's got good coaches. I really like Sean Lewis. But there were some. How do you answer the question? Just don't. Golly, and it's there for the whole world to see. Feel free to look it up on YouTube. He answers the question. I'm like, he doesn't even know the rules of overtime. I don't get it. But anyway, also there's a lot of people today taking, and I have a tough time with this part. There was basically a hole shot in cover 2 thrown to Travis Hunter early in the game, and the kid from Colorado State. It was late.
Yeah.
And he gets a 15-yard penalty for it. Okay.
Yeah. Hunter suffered a lacerated kidney, by the way. We'll miss several weeks.
Stroked. It was a dirty hit. That's what's wrong with targeting. That guy right there, that's an ejection, right? That guy should have been ejected from the game, except it's a 15-yard penalty. But a guy trying to make a good play that just grazes somebody's helmet gets thrown out of the game. That's what's wrong with that rule.
Yeah.
Like that, he should have been ejected. Instead, he gets a 15-yard penalty, and a guy trying to make a good play, gets the helmet, somebody ducks or whatever, and gets thrown out for targeting. They need to relook at some of those rules on that.
I've ever told you, by the way, how much. I won't spend any time on this because we're pushing time already.
We're good.
I hate the college overtime rules. I hate them.
Yeah, they are bad.
I hate them.
They're not the worst out there in any sport, but they're pretty bad.
They're really bad.
High school football's bad.
They take the football out of the game. Suddenly the game's just 2 phases. Well, the game's 3 phases the whole game, and now it's 2 phases. I can't stand it. It's like I don't like Major League Baseball's rule. I know it's meant to expedite things, but starting in the 10th inning, you've got a runner on second. Nobody out every inning. I hate that. Just don't like it.
Yeah. All right.
NFL. The NFL has overtime closer to right. Although I don't like the NFL overtime. I don't like that. So you win a coin toss, and if you drive down the field and score, ball game.
They just changed it for the playoffs, but not regular season.
Yeah, I don't like that. So the playoff is a different game than the regular season?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I mean, according to the NFL.
And then so you get to play like in the Lions game at the end of that game where you put it in the officials and the officials swallow their whistle. That was a big play. I mean, Aiden Hutchinson was held. The touchdown that won the game for Seattle should not have been a touchdown.
I agree.
That was a hold. And so I'm not even talking about our picks. It was a hold. And so, instead of Seattle either having to make a play or settle for a field goal and Detroit getting an opportunity, it's ball game. I don't like it.
My last college game, I'm not going to talk about it, but I had UNLV. I'm picking on my Vanderbilt Commodores. UNLV holds up, gives me a plus 170 win at home versus the terrible Vanderbilt Commodores. All right, Neil, NFL. We both had the Lions minus 4.5, the game we were just discussing. They just didn't once Montgomery went out, they kind of lost flow.
Yeah,
offensively.
Mm-hmm.
Jameer Gibbs is not the guy that can push it up in the middle like Montgomery could. They even didn't. They started playing other people. Trying to get that.
Really got away from their identity.
They did quick, but they lose at home to the Seahawks. I have no idea how that happened. That one shocked me of all of them. Maybe you don't cover, I get that, but to lose the game outright, that one was tough to take. Neil, your second game, you also lost. Our beloved Cincinnati Bengals, 3.5-point favorites.
Not looking good. Not looking good.
He's just playing hurt.
He's hurt.
It doesn't look right.
He's hurt.
I don't know. You know how it's a calf injury, right? But the ball's not coming out of his hand with the same juice that it has. And that's not a calf. Like something else is wrong with the guy.
I don't know. I think the calf's really bothering him.
But that doesn't affect your velocity like it's being affected.
I don't know. He's just not healthy right now.
And
he's getting hit a lot.
Not healthy and he's getting stroked.
Yeah.
But the only good thing that happened yesterday is I have Lamar Jackson and Mark Andrews on my fantasy team, and they connected for a touchdown, which gave me 11 points. So
I'll tell you this: when Jackson is healthy and so effective with his feet, there were times that Cincinnati had it defended really well, and he just extends the plays and gets the first down. The problem for that, and we've seen it year after year, is when you run him that much, you're running the risk, and he gets hurt. And then once he gets hurt, their offense is not the same.
A.K.A. Anthony Richardson.
I tell you, he got hit a lot, and they got to work on it. But boy, he does some things. I mean,
I wish they would stop.
He was good yesterday.
I was laughing about this the other day. I wish they would stop calling them dual threat quarterbacks. Because if you can't throw, you're just a running quarterback.
Right.
You're not dual threat because you can't throw.
Right.
And that leads us into our next game. Your Chicago Bears, with the running quarterback of the Chicago Bears, went down and took on my favorite Baker Mayfield.
Easy money.
Took the Buccaneers minus 2.5, and that was stealing.
Easy money.
Justin Fields is terrible, dude.
It's not going to work.
The dude threw a pick six on a screen from his 1 yard line.
It's not going to work.
His 1 yard line.
It's not. If you're the Bears, it's soul searching time. I mean, there are 2 quarterbacks coming out in this draft at a minimum who are NFL dudes. Caleb Williams, Drake May. You don't have a quarterback. You can't win in this league without a quarterback. Just can't do it.
Nope.
Doesn't happen. It's time for them to eat it. Eat it.
Dude.
You got to tank from here on out.
They don't have to try.
Well, but you got to move on from him. There's no reason to spend a lot more time trying to develop Justin Fields. It's not going to happen.
That's bad, dude.
And it's a quarterback league. If you don't have one, you have no chance, with no exception. You have to have quarterback play in the NFL, period.
Is it frustrating you as a Bears fan?
I mean,
where's your frustration level?
1 to 10?
Yeah.
I mean, as a Bears fan, and I'm not much of a Bears fan. Carson's a much bigger Bears fan than I am.
What's Carson's frustration level?
Well, to the point that he doesn't watch it. He's not interested.
11?
Yeah, he's over it. He's disinterested because that's not competitive.
I agree.
It's hopeless. It's not Richardson where you go, you know what? He does some things. He got some stuff he got to fix.
There's no flashes.
Yeah, there's nothing. You watch. Name me some young quarterbacks. I mean, they're just kind of across the league. There's just dudes, right? When you've got them on your team, you're like, well, you can convince yourself. We got a shot. Got a shot today. Like if you got Tua, you got a shot. You got Herbert, you got a shot. Even though they lost yesterday in Tennessee, you got those people. You've got a shot. When you're throwing out there with Justin Fields, you're not winning. You're not a Super Bowl contender in any shape, form, or fashion, no matter what else you do with the roster.
Yeah. All right. Another dub you had last night. The Dolphins, you had them at -3. I actually, because of my day was going so great yesterday, I took them at I gambled irresponsibly and double united on unit and a half on the Dolphins. Like I'm at 1.5 last night, and they easily covered. The score was 24-17, but that game was never felt that close. I
didn't see any of it, but I will give the Patriots credit. They wore amazing uniforms.
They did do that. They just Dolphins were without some guys on defense, and dude, they played well. They stopped the run. They got gutted the week before that in the run, even though they won. Dolphins got it going, man. When he's on, dude. When Tua is their quarterback, they are a legit contender
for sure.
All right, and then in one of the weirdest games of the year that I actually bet with you yesterday and lost this game as I needed some help in the afternoon. You almost covered. You had the Giants -4. They come back and win 31-28. They were down 28 to maybe it was 28-7, maybe 28-1, 28-0, 27-21, whatever it was. They literally were outscored like 60-0 in the first 6 quarters of football, and they decided to come back and play football, come back and win the game 31-28, score 31 points in the second half. News out of this one is Saquon Barkley, who I have on my fantasy team, gets hurt literally on the next to last play of the game trying to run out the clock, gets rolled up. It was nasty the way he got rolled up. It was bad. I was like, oh, that's bad. But they said it was just a regular ankle sprain, so I don't imagine he will play Thursday. They have a short week versus the 49ers. But
this is from Art Stapleton, who covers the Giants for NorthJersey.com. He was Dateline Tempe. He was out there. He says the team is cautiously optimistic that Barkley avoided serious injury. It's initially believed the Giants star running back has avoided one. Several individuals within the organization cautioned the team does not know for certain the extent of the ankle Barkley hurt, blah, blah, blah. X-rays on site were negative and did not reveal any fractures, but the scans that are forthcoming will tell a more complete story of what Barkley is dealing with. Brian Daboll said this morning he is, quote, hopeful about the seriousness of Barkley's injury, but is currently being evaluated in Arizona. The team will wait to see what the testing reveals. They play Thursday night in San Francisco. No, he won't play Thursday,
but he may.
What are you doing right there? You don't run the ball right there. If you're eating clock and you're making them take timeouts, you just down it, right?
Well, I think if they got a first down, they could have ran the entire thing out.
Yeah,
I think.
I guess.
I was in a couple when that was happening yesterday. All right, Neil. My wonderful NFL picks that I struggled on, obviously. I had the Jaguars +3.5. They had their chances, dude. They had their chances to easily cover this game and even win it. They lose 17-9. They just didn't get it done. They got to, if they want to take that next level, and they have enough talent to do that, if they want to take the next level, they got to learn how to finish the game versus really good quality opponents. And they're not there right now. That was probably the biggest takeaway from yesterday. They had the ball down there, ready to score, try to go for 2 to tie it. They didn't convert. That's just, at the end of the day, lose that game covering, but they had their chances to not only cover, but to win that game outright yesterday and did not do that. I had the Los Angeles Chargers -3 against the Titans. the Los Angeles Chargers stole defeat from the jaws of victory in that game. They had it covered, the whole deal. They had every chance to score at the end and cover. They didn't. Same story as like watching the same game between the Jags and the Chargers. Look now, our boy out at San Diego, if he doesn't get it turned around quick,
I know.
he's on the super hot seat.
Yep.
Because they have to win now. Their window is very small right now. They have to take advantage of it.
That'd be an interesting opening.
That would be.
Yep.
Because you'll get some suitors on that one.
A lot of people would be interested in the Chargers gig. Get to go to L.A. You get Herbert.
Yeah, I mean,
be an interesting spot.
All right, and one of the Neil McCready screw job that I took, GJG, I'm sure he's in here just circling, waiting for this one to come out. I took the Packers -1 on Thursday against the Falcons. The line moved to Packers +3, so I took it on Sunday morning when I made my bets for Sunday on Sunday morning. So I actually won the cash bet because I had them +3. They lose 25-24 on a walk-off. Arthur Smith's trying to get himself fired. I don't understand this. And I get that we're trying to be cute. You talking about taking people out to dinner? He should just take Bijan Robinson and go, Bijan, I love you. You're so great. I love you, Bijan. You're such a great player.
I think that would creep Bijan out a little bit.
Well, he needs to, because the guy goes for it on 4th and short. Just kick the field goal, man. These coaches try to get too cute in the NFL. We got to run it down. I think they get an extra win if they run it as close as they can to 0 and kick in the walk-off field goal. Like, he had 4th and yard from the 15 or 16 and went for it instead of kicking the field goal with whatever time was left. It was a minute and change, whatever it was. And I get the deal that, hey, we're going to let this guy back in it. But they had Jordan Love, as good as he was, he's looking and doing things. They kind of figured him out. And they didn't. They ran it down. They ran it down to 30 seconds or whatever it was. And they did not cover for the Thursday's picks. And the last game, Neil, at the New York Jets +8, I believe, +9 we had for the show. That didn't matter.
Yep.
They got dominated. They were just, I don't know, they couldn't run the ball. And that's one thing
Dallas looks good right now.
That's one thing Dallas has struggled on in the past is running the football. Well, they didn't struggle on it the other day. They got after him pretty good. The only touchdown they called him in man, and the guy ran a good slant and threw it behind somebody and got him on a long run, Garrett Wilson. But Cowboys look really good right now.
Yeah, they do.
Really good.
They do.
All right. Wrapping it up here, Neil. Tonight we have a doubleheader starting. I think it's at 6 after 6 today.
Yeah, that's right.
We got the New Orleans Saints -3 going to the Carolina Panthers. The total is 39.5. I am going to bet the under. I'm taking under 39.5. I think the Saints are good on defense. I think the Panthers are good on defense. Divisional game at home. If I was to take the original spread, I would take the Saints -3. This is a really good defense. Bryce Young's he's going to step up a level from what he saw last week. 2 divisional games to start off with, but I think it's a low-scoring game. I'm taking the under at 39.5 tonight. This is not for a competition, just letting everybody know. And then the Cleveland Browns are going to Pittsburgh tonight, and the Browns are favored by 2. I'm probably going to take the Steelers outright on this one. I think the Steelers went outright at home.
Oh, yeah.
Divisional game at home. I don't think they're going to start off 0-2. Home game. I think they got some things to prove. The total is at 38.5. I'm not messing with that one, but I will take the Steelers and the points, but I'll probably end up taking the money line on that. That's all I got today, boss.
I will not take either game.
Really?
No, I will just. I'm a little interested in both. We'll see. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. It's Monday. Monday's a work day. I still got a notebook to write. Still got another story to write. I might turn it on for background a little bit, but I'm going to try to get done. That's my goal.
Remind me tomorrow when we do our preview tomorrow and we get to the Ole Miss Alabama game. Remind me to say something about the Lane Kiffin press conference remarks and Nick Saban press conference remarks.
Okay.
We don't have time today.
Okay. Yeah, we'll dive into it tomorrow. We'll preview. We'll dive into it's a really big slate of college games, full slate of college games on Saturday. A lot of big games all over the country. Pac-12, Big Ten, SEC, a lot. So we'll get into all of that. on on Tuesday, I should say, on the next edition of McCready and Siskey. Again, our big thanks to our friends at Rain Total Body Fuel, 300 milligrams of natural caffeine, BCAAs, electrolytes, and zero sugar. It's got what you need to push the limits and achieve your goals. Check them out on Instagram at Rain Body Fuel to learn more.
I want to thank everybody in the Cooper Chevrolet chat. A reminder, during September, you can get 3.9% financing for 72 months on new Chevy Silverado crew cabs and no payments for 90 days. Go to cooperchevrolet.com for details.
For Tyler Siskey, I'm Neil McCready. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Have a great rest of your evening. Take care.